welcome to Rollin' Bones with Ryan Howard, now happily, proudly, and officially a part of Valor Studios. I'm so excited for what we've got going on moving forward. We've got some cool things coming on the horizon. As you can see, I am now inside a vat, which is interesting and new. But stay tuned for more changes coming down the pipe for Rollin' Bones. But let's not bury the lead here, because tonight I've got two amazing guests. The first one, you guys have seen him on here before. You've also seen him starring alongside myself in Deadlands The Hellgate trilogy. We have the returning Todd Moonbounce, and he's brought along with him his co-star from the new Dead Planet MothershipRPG stream that they're doing. So ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on Rollin' Bones, please welcome Jenn as well. So Jenn and Todd, welcome to Rollin' Bones.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Ryan. So good to see you.
Hey, it's good to see you too. Looks like Lou made it over here. Lou, it's good to see you. I'm glad you could make it here. For anyone who is unfamiliar, Lou in chat is a great game designer, a great friend of mine, and he loves to contribute. So we'll be shouting him out all night long. So welcome, Lou, and guys, thank you so much for coming on here for the inaugural Valor Studio show.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats on the move. Super exciting. Good to see. As you mentioned, we work together on Deadlands, and Valor Studios is a class act all around. So it's awesome to see you part of that, and it's glad to be here on number one with you.
Absolutely. Now, Jenn, we're actually going to start the evening with some questions for you, because there are questions that everyone gets asked when they come on Rollin' Bones for the first time. So let's begin here at the beginning. How did you get into RPGs?
Oh boy. I was obsessed with fantasy ever since I was a child. I had a controller in my hand by the time I was 3, and I just loved escaping into all these different stories, and it just made sense to pop into TTRPGs as well because of that reason. I like playing pretend, and I like to act. So
Awesome. Now, of all the game systems that you've played, just kind of over the course of your gaming career, what would you say is your favorite or one of your favorites?
Oh, goodness. So I started my gaming career on a VTech Socrates entertainment/education system from like 1988. And I have to say that that's probably still in my brain, like my favorite system of all time.
Gotcha. And as far as like RPG rule sets, do you have a favorite in that particular mold?
So I recently played Index Card RPG.
Oh yes.
And I was like, why have I not heard of this before? It was just so smooth. The role playing was just so like, it was like a breeze. I didn't have to stop every 5 seconds to double check a rule or something like that. So like, I don't know. ICRPG is now one of my tops. I definitely have to say Mouse Guard is another one that I really enjoy.
Gotcha.
And then I recently started playing the Fallout RPG as well, so which uses the 2d20 system. So it's good for me because you're supposed to roll low. But unfortunately, I now roll high. So
yeah, unfortunately, the dice gods are hard to trick in that.
Yeah. They know it's me still.
Mothership is a roll under system, which we'll get to, I'm sure. And yeah, the Jenn's usual luck ran out right away. We saw in character generation. So
I found that with Deadlands, when we were doing Deadlands, my luck would come in like fits and starts. I would have a whole bunch of great rolls, all like one right after the other, and then there'd be some nights where I just couldn't hit anything.
Yep.
And then Todd would make fun of me.
Just have to hang it up. Yeah, that was very on brand for character. It was, as the supposed, gun shooter quick draw. Yeah. When the dice weren't with you, it hurt.
Mm-hmm. I like to call that the Ranger's rule. The thing that you're so amazingly good at is the thing that you roll the worst at so often. And I call it the Ranger's rule because and the trope with D&D is every so often the ranger will finally get the chance to track something.
Right.
And when they finally get to track something, you'd be like, all right, I've been preparing for this my whole life. Everyone stand back. I'm going to find out where this thing is going. That's a 2.
Oh, yeah, I did that the other night, actually. Hyper Penguin can tell you in chat. We're playing like a yawning portal type D&D episodic kind of thing. And I was very, very convinced that this mayor was gonna. I got him right. I'm persuading him. I'm like, you have a monster problem. We can fight those. Let's work something out. And I was really convincing until I rolled a 2.
Absolutely. And it's the worst when you like set up a whole bunch of like nice role play stuff around it. Like when you make a really good speech, you have a really good zinger, and you're about to roll some kind of charisma check or something like that, and then it just doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Dice
it
gods
did not.
lie.
I tried to get free stuff. It was just all that work for nothing.
And then the last of these introductory questions that everyone gets asked the first time they come on Rollin' Bones. And I'll tell you, Jen, the answer to this question can be as philosophical or as sophomoric as you want it to be.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Jen, if you could put anything on a t-shirt, what would it be?
Put it behind a paywall. Yeah, that would be my slogan on a t-shirt if I had one. Or eat the rich, one of those two. But I mean, that's more Nick's than me, so.
That works better for a patch than a
It
shirt.
does work better for a patch than a shirt. But yeah, put it behind a paywall would definitely be my slogan that goes on a t-shirt.
I like it. That's great. Cool. So, like we said at the top of the show, we're here to talk about this this new actual play that you guys are doing called Dead Planet, and you're using a system called Mothership. Now, I've never played Mothership before, so this is for both of you, both Todd and Jen. How did you guys first get exposed to Mothership, and what was that initial experience like when you first tried it out?
Yeah, Jen, is this your first intro as well? Our game?
Todd is the reason that I play Mothership.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had came across it before as well. So
No.
I don't remember exactly when I came across it. I think I like stumbled across it, and then it just went in the back of, we all have those files of RPGs to check out, and it floats around there. And then I just kind of, I think with the warden, who is the GM, the term for the GM in Mothership, my good buddy Rich, he's an OSR guy, old school guy, loves those old school games, and Mothership definitely leans into that style. And I think I actually introduced it to him. I don't think it was on his radar, but it came back on mine. I think maybe a little bit of their Kickstarter traction was part of that, and just got back into it. I was like, all right, I finally want to run this. And Rich built some steam with me in that and got into it. And then I finally, I think I don't know if I started a play-by-post first. I think I started a play-by-post. I was running a play-by-post of it, text-based. And then for my birthday last November, Rich ran a session, a popular one-shot called Ipsilon 14. So it was myself, Candace, who was also in Deadlands, and then 2 other of my buddies. We ran that, and just an absolute blast. Rich did an amazing job with it, with that whole sci-fi horror aspect. I'd love to give spoilers, but I won't in case you want to check it out because it was an amazing session. It is up on my YouTube. But that was like our first dip into it, and we just knew from there, okay, we got to do something with this. So we started working on, and so Dead Planet is a written module by Tuesday Night Games, who created Mothership as well. And because we were originally going to use the first part of Dead Planet as the one shot for my birthday, but then I was like, no, let's expand that. Let's do a series. And so for my birthday one shot, we'll just do the Epsilon. And so then we started planning this out, and then it was like, okay, let's figure out who we want in on this. Brought Candace in on that because, as we all know, she's amazing. And then we looked up, yes, magnificent indeed. And so we reached out. I just started, putting out feelers for people. And our fourth member, Kay, who she actually reached out on Twitter and said, "Hey, I'm interested," and met with her. Fantastic individual, and she runs games for Jenn. That's how Jenn got roped in, because she had GM'd for Jenn, and said, "Hey, Jenn's interested in this," and yeah, brought them on. So that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah, the system as they just went through, so they had their massive Kickstarter, 1.25 million, I think it was. Just amazing for the type of game it is. Definitely not a your Wizard of the Coast style. And just blew up. And they had a little bit of a rule update, nothing major, but some things that really cleaned it up, made it pretty, just even a little bit faster. And I've ran one other game on a live game so far, which is super fun. But yeah, now we're just into this and getting ready for it. Jenn, any other initial thoughts? We've had 2 session zeros so far, but we did a little bit, last night to play around with it. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, you said everything perfectly. Yeah, I did God Plane, which is an original 5e based system written by Kay and her co-writer David. And so I played with them. It was beautiful. We had a great time. So when she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like I might have this, other opportunity," I was like, "Let's go for it." I love playing horror games. The only D&D campaign I've ever run was Frost Maiden, because Icewind Dale is like the place to be for me for some reason. So yeah, it's just right up my alley.
Gotcha. Did you ever like read the Icewind Dale novels or play the games or anything like that?
Oh, I'm obsessed. I'm
Awesome.
obsessed. I've started reading the newer ones that are out, like Timeless and the newer ones that he's written, but I haven't found as much time because there's too many games to play.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that is all our biggest issue there is time.
We even had a nod to the legends of Jertz and crew in God Plane, so that was really fun to like play around with.
Yeah, that's always an interesting balance to strike, because you're playing in Icewind Dale, and so there's this excitement of, am I gonna run into Dritz? Am I gonna run into Wolfgar? Any of those guys? But at the same time, you don't want someone so legendary there to overshadow what the players are doing. So it's an odd balance to strike, and it sounds like you guys had kind of a satisfying experience with that.
When I was running it for my people, yeah. The thing is, though, if you've read the books and if you've read them recently, because as soon as I heard that Realm of the Frost Maiden was coming out, I'm like, oh, I have to get back into them and like reread the Crystal Shard and stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that like doesn't quite fit that should. So like as like someone who's read the novels, I was like, oh, like this should be different, and this isn't supposed to be like this. So it gave me kind of a different experience, but it was fun to run while I did it.
Gotcha. Now, Mothership itself, as we've kind of alluded to, it's a sci-fi horror game. So when it comes to sci-fi horror, there are lots of kind of great examples of the genre. And so for each of you, what's kind of your favorite sci-fi horror movie, video game, novel? What's kind of your favorite experience with that aspect of horror?
Jenn, you go first.
So
my lack of media consumption. So
this is true. I used to be really obsessed with vampires and a lot of like monsters and Dracula and Frankenstein. I used to read all those books, scary stories, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, all of that stuff growing up. So it's just kind of come with me as I've gotten older. My favorite horror game is actually the Fatal Frame series.
Gotcha.
So for those who don't know what that is, you basically run around with a camera taking pictures of ghosts that scare the crap out of you. So that's fun. Yeah, I don't know how it affects how I approach Mothership though. I feel like my character just kind of is so aloof to like, she has her own ambitions and her own goals, and so that's kind of what I focus on is like her kind of just development in wherever she happens to be.
I think
Gotcha.
that's yeah, to that point, Jen, I think that's great because I think that's a little bit of my approach as well in RPGs is I don't spend a lot of time watching movies and things, so I don't have a lot of references of like, okay, I'm gonna maybe base off this character, or whatever. It's just the little bit that growing up as I approach the big 4-0 in a few years here. I do have plenty of experience of pop culture and other things that are there. Um, and that's just I think subconsciously pick and choose that stuff as I play in a game. And as Jen said, I think that's great. Is you kind of have an idea of a character, and then you're going to go into this setting, which happens to be sci-fi horror, and how is that person going to relate? So for me, I'm not sure what a specific one. I'll mention this. I recently watched because I traveled for work recently, and so on the plane I was able to crank through the whole series, The Silent Sea on Netflix. I strongly suggest everyone to check that out. It's 8 episodes. It's a Korean project. It is Mothership fuel to the core. Like it is perfect for Mothership if you needed some inspiration. Super great story. Yeah, super cool. So that would be one that's really recent for me. That would be some inspiration. There's the classics like Alien. I think is probably one of the biggest touchstones for the game Mothership. So those classics are out there, obviously. But
Yeah, and one of the things that really kind of popped into my head as I was looking through a little bit of the information online about Mothership was for anyone out there who's a big fan of System Shock, this would be a good game for you to run. I think that video game and kind of the atmosphere that it generated would fit very well in uh, this particular setting because you've got a mysterious happenings that happen on a spaceship as you have just arrived. There's a renegade AI, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So
yeah,
I definitely think if anyone's looking for like an entry point or a kind of shorthand for what to expect from Mothership, I think if you're a System Shock fan, your pump is already primed for this.
I haven't. I have to put that on my list now.
have not either. I've
I'm
definitely heard of
sorry.
that. James, just to clarify, can chat here? Can we all hear you? Okay. So the man behind the curtain has let us know, Chad, about your question of the free league, right? Alien game,
Yep.
Aliens RPG.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what we were just commenting on. I haven't played that either. I only know that of. So actually, Critical Role did a one shot, Ashley Johnson's one shot, which was they did a mashup of Mothership and Alien. So they kind of mash those things together. That is another great. If you enjoy Critical Role and what they do, that was a super awesome. They touched on all the classic sci-fi horror tropes and things like that in that. But yeah, nope. Otherwise I haven't.
I haven't played it, but a while back I had Andrew E.C. Gaska on the show. He is one of the contributors to that RPG. He actually works for 20th Century Fox as kind of their like lore master for specifically Alien, Predator, and Planet of the Apes. That's kind of
Nice.
where his wheelhouse lies. But he was on a while back and talked a good bit about the Alien RPG. It seems super fascinating, and I would really love to like experience that game. I know for his patrons, Tim Mathias from Knights and Nerds also recently ran a an Alien session. So for any Knights and Nerds fans out there, that's something to check out. But yeah, thank you, Lou and chat for that question. That is a fantastic. I wish, uh, I wish I'd been. I wish I was more experienced with both of these games because they both sound super interesting. But like Todd said, there's only so much time and so many games out there to try. So
Mothership is great in that I think it's super fast to pick up. Like you could jump in there. The character sheet, like everything you need to make a character is on that one page. It literally maps out with arrows and says, all right, roll your stats. Okay, step 2, pick your class or whatever, step, et cetera. And everything is there on that sheet. You're ready to go and you can have a character done in minutes. And jump into it. And then it's there is some skills, there's skill trees, but it's not like the 5e sense where you have rigid skills. It's if you want to do something, the only time you should be rolling dice in Mothership is if there's heavy consequences. So we were talking, I think it was before the show, but we were talking about how the bad luck, sorry, no, it was on the show, but the bad luck with the dice. And in those instances, if you're the ranger and you're super good at tracking and all that, you should be able to do that. There shouldn't necessarily be a dice roll involved unless there's super significant consequences for that. So
yeah, and I like that is kind of ingrained in the system because there is an element of frustration where my character is very skilled in this particular thing to where what would be a challenging task for someone in this regard is actually somewhat trivial for my character. So I should be able to do things a little bit better without having to rely so much on the number the dice shows me. And also just for like streaming purposes and entertainment purposes, stuff like that can really slow down the flow of a session.
yeah.
And if everyone's kind of stuck standing around because people keep rolling 2s and 3s to find out what the next piece of content is, that could be really frustrating. And so designing around that is definitely a skill that you need to foster in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that it goes either way. I think that Mothership does a good job of like inherently creating flaws in the system. Like Chris, for me, someone who rolls consistently badly, my characters always have some sort of like extreme flaw, whether they're really easily distracted or they refuse to use their bow because of some weird oath they took to some goddess. You know what I mean? Like there's always something that inhibits them because I'm so used to screwing it all up because of the dice roll. But Mothership kind of adds that in a different way. Like you have flaws or you have sanity. So it really keeps that like flawed character kind of feel, but you don't have to roll consistently bad to get it.
Right. Now, Todd, I know that you've been around the block a couple times here as far as streaming games goes, but Jenn, what's been your experience as far as doing actual play streams and content? Have you done a lot of it in the past, or is this something that's relatively new to you?
This is the technically third. So I started, I did a one shot with Kay on the Women in Games International channel where I worked there. And then she invited me to do Godplane. And then I got invited to do this, but I've also been on like one-off podcasts here and there. So, yeah, I don't know. I just show up and do stuff when I'm asked to do stuff.
Gotcha.
It does good when you do so.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I try to do a good job. I did a lot of theater, so
yeah,
like local theater and stuff.
Theater it's become apparent to me that theater is something that draws people to role playing. And it's pretty obvious, but I very much got interested in role playing myself because of theater and because of, doing high school plays and things like that. So, it's interesting how that theater background creates a certain type of receptiveness to the world of RPGs.
Yeah, I could see that. I was not in theater. I was in band, so I've always been a performer, musician myself. So I think there's that element to it as well. But I definitely step in. I know I know Candace, I think, had some theater background as well. So when you step in alongside two wonderful people like that, I don't know if Kay has any theater background. If she doesn't, she's damn good without it. But yeah, for myself, like I step in next to like Jen and Candace and Kay, and for me, where I might come in and be a little bit shy in my abilities. Like it's so much fun to work with people like that because I think it brings out the best in myself as well. So, it's just, I mean, that's what the game is too, just working together and telling that story. So,
yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the characters that you guys are going to be bringing to the table here, without giving too much away, Todd, tell us a little bit about who you'll be portraying in this particular game, and then Jen, you do the same.
Absolutely. So I will be playing Lace Coley, Lase. Lace Coley is a Teamster. So Teamster is probably the closest analog would be Ripley from Alien. Just your rough and tumble blue collar all around. He's a bit laid back of a fellow, 28 years old, who's just, tied down to debts and things of the world and just carefree about that and says, whatever, I'm just going to, enjoy myself as I can. And has some past military experience alongside the captain, Captain Petty Williams, who is being played by Candace. And so we have a connection there, and she's got a job, so she called me in to come along on that. And then I decided to bring my big sister, who is Nyx, played by Jen. And then Jen has brought along, I'll let her talk on this a little further, but her, as I call it, project, an android named Kai. So there'll be some fun sibling hijinks, I'm sure. In real life, I'm the oldest of four. So switching into the younger sibling role will be a fun thing to explore in this as well. So I get to be the tormentor instead of the tormented.
Yeah, doing a good job so far too, I must say.
Fantastic.
I'm scared I'm going to give away too much, but yeah, so I play Nyx. Nyx, I'm going to show my age a lot here when I explain Nyx's concept, because Nyx is a child of, I would say, like Abby from NCIS and like Charlie Day's character from Pacific Rim, which then puts Acid Burn from Hackers in my mind, right? So she's very like, she's a scientist. She doesn't necessarily want to be a scientist, but it's easy for her. So she's just kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And yeah, she's her own. I can't even, words are hard right now when I'm trying to explain her. She's very eccentric. But in that kind of like, I don't have time for niceties. I don't have time for formalities. Like, I need to, like, A needs to happen, B needs to happen, C needs to happen. And she is used to living kind of a lifestyle because of her scientific background and being able to do what she does. She specifies in artificial intelligence, so she naturally has created a robot android to naturally to go everywhere with her and do all of the things. She has found that relating to not people is a lot easier for her. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then just to kind of give people an idea of what, generally the plot's going to be like, where do we find this cast of characters as the action starts and as people kind of enter the story here? What's the beginning point that we find?
We don't even know that yet, to be honest.
I have no idea.
That's up to our evil DM.
Gotcha.
So Dead Planet, as I mentioned, Dead Planet is a module, but basically we've developed obviously our plot hook, if you will, of how do we get into this. The four of us are basically making a cargo run. We're hauling some cargo out to an area called the Commonwealth. So that's our task. Basically, take that out there and get paid. So that's the hope. But as things happen in these sorts of settings, something will probably go wrong, and then we find ourselves in above a dead planet.
Gotcha.
We can talk about the cargo haul. I can talk about it.
I don't know about talk. Well,
no, he said in chat we could talk about it.
Oh, the warden says?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We put a little teaser. So we
haul.
did. Yeah, last night we did in our second session 0. We did a little test RP just to start building that chemistry, and we found out, much to my big sister's dismay, is that we were hauling a bunch of bodies.
I was not happy. I was not happy at all.
Dead bodies.
Oh.
So yeah, interesting indeed.
Talking about dead bodies, hey everybody, I'm the producer here. You'll hear me every now and then feeding questions to our host and our wonderful cast members here. So Luau Lu asks, can you speak to how the mechanics add to a feeling of dread, fear, and loss of sanity or hope?
Yeah, I think that would come into... So probably not like the core mechanics. So there are four main stats, strength, speed, intellect, and combat. And then there's 3 saves, sanity, fear, and body. As we kind of touched on earlier, you don't want to make a roll unless you have to. The only time you're going to make a roll is if there's something significant going on. So if you're making a roll, you're probably in trouble or trying to avoid it. When you fail a roll, and I think this leads into that question, is you gain a mechanic called stress. And this is where that stuff, I think, comes in, and it's a great system. So anytime you fail a roll, and it's a roll under system, D100, D percentile, you gain 1 point of stress. You start at 2 points. Maximum is 20 points of stress you can get. And every time you fail the roll, so you gain that point of stress, and then there's other situations that will cause you to make a panic roll, which is a single D20, and there's a table for that. You have to roll over your stress total to avoid panic. So it's better earlier because you have less stress, so you're more likely to roll over that. And if you do fail in those situations, the results on that panic table and those lower numbers aren't as bad. But then, of course, when you get up there, like if you have 20 points of stress, you're going to panic, guaranteed, because you can't beat that. And then the worst one you could get is a natural 20 on that, and that just collapse. You no longer control the character, hand your sheet over to the warden, as it says. So, but there's things on here. There's, conditions of frightened, nightmares, being paranoid, haunted, all these different things that are built up in the panic. And, I think the ease that those things can come up, that's what really drives it. And I think that does it really well.
Now, are these things that your character kind of runs into as they kind of continue failing rolls, do those stick with you throughout the entirety of the play, or do they go away after a certain period of time? What's it like as far as like a campaign type situation? Where are these reoccurring problems?
Yeah, the stress. So there's ways to relieve stress. So you certainly can try and reduce that. There's certainly, and this is something that we had to talk about for our campaign, because death is likely in this system. It's very deadly. So, with us being, we don't want to change characters or players. So we said, all right, we have a backup for that, which is we'll probably explain in the show, which I think is a cool concept. But yeah, otherwise that stuff comes along. There's things that help you relieve that stress and help out with that. Another thing kind of on the flip side of that, if you're ever at that 20 points of stress, which is the max, and you gain more, whatever you failed. So if you failed a intellect-based skill roll, the stress you would gain from that comes off of your intellect score. So now your scores start going down, and then you're seeing that semi-permanent. There's ways to get that back, I believe, as well. But you're seeing hits to your skills as well to just make it more and more difficult to survive that.
Gotcha. I mean, it seems like the obvious answer for how to deal with character death, since you guys have a cargo hold filled with bodies,
right?
Just everyone, as soon as one character dies, everyone hears a knocking coming from the hold, and you get down there, and someone's burst through a crate, being like, "I wasn't actually dead."
We shall see. We shall see. Of course.
Yes.
Of course. The thing is, though, is that each character archetype has like an effect on the rest of the party as their stress happens. So I think I can talk about that, right, Todd?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So as a scientist, which I'm going to need all the help I can get, I can tell you that right now. But as the scientist, if I start gaining stress and losing sanity, every single person around me starts getting concerned and having it it affects their sanity and their stress as well. So, yeah, it's going to be very fun and interesting to see how everybody affects everybody else.
Yeah, we do have one of each class, which is nice. The balance, it's not necessary, but I think it will make it good. So everyone has that thing. They're super great. So touch on those. The Marine. So Candace's character, Captain Petty, is a Marine. Whenever she panics, everyone nearby must make a fear save. So it forces a save. The android, fear saves made by nearby players are at disadvantage because of the creepy android nearby. So we're just going to be at disadvantage on fear saves this entire campaign. So we're just starting out the gate.
Wait till you see that android.
Thanks, Kay. Scientist, as Jen mentioned, whenever she fails a sanity save, all nearby gain 1 point of stress. And then myself, the Teamster, once per session, I get to take advantage on a panic check. So kind of Teamster being that, all-rounded character, they actually have a bonus to their class trauma response, they call it.
Gotcha. I will say, since Kay's in chat here, I played an android in the last sci-fi game that I got to play in. I played an android named V4NC3 or Vance, and he was basically I don't know if anyone's seen the show Prison Break, but he was basically if John Abruzzi were killed and then brought back as an android in the far future.
Nice. What system was that?
It was Starfinder.
Okay. Nice.
So playing an android can be challenging, but it can also be fun because you get to do all kinds of crazy, weird things and make yourself sound not human.
Did you? Yeah. So what did you lean into? For me, I think, there's obviously lots of different examples of the android. You have the really robotic ones, or if you go with, Geordi from Star Trek, not Geordi, sorry, Data. Data, much more humanistic, things like that, which to me, it would be a challenge to really balance either of those out. But what did you go with there, Ryan?
So what I did, my guy Vance was pretty much like Data, but he had a homicidal streak to him, but he didn't really care that he terrified people. He was just like, I'm a security android. I am here to do my thing. I'm here to, take out who needs to be taken out. And then just every now and then he'd get a flash of his old life and he'd just start talking about doing all kinds of nasty stuff that he used to do to people. He'd be like, I remember when I was on Mars one time and I only had a single clip of ammunition left and I was able to use it to take out 30 people. And that is why no one from the Black Sun Syndicate ever says my name anymore. And everyone just be like, whoa? This guy's security?
Yeah,
I love it.
corrupted data aspect is a great one to be able to explore, I'd say.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I like always too, because like androids, it's that fine line between being just human enough and being not human enough that it's creepy. And Kay does a really almost like too good of a job riding that line to the point where it's I can't wait. Like
She
it's gonna be
succeeds. I
so
showed
good.
so there's a clip out right now on I posted on Twitter earlier today. Uh, some great initial banter back and forth of all of us, and I showed it to my wife today, and my wife said exactly that. It was like, she's creepy. Like that's, and I was like, I know, and it's amazing because she's
And she's
killing it. And she goes, my wife goes, but she does it too well. I'm like, I know, that's the point. So it's awesome. So
and we've
excited.
been working on ways to do it more. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be even better on the premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah, Kaylee's into that hard. It's nice.
So that kind of leads to a question that I've had. Just kind of coming into this. Anytime you pick up a new RPG to run as a stream, there's this aspect of, do the rules make for an entertaining show, or do they get in the way of the show? So, how have you guys noticed the system enhancing the experience, or how do you think it will enhance the experience as you guys go live? Do you think there's anything that might kind of drag things down that'll need to be worked around? What are your thoughts on the system as entertainment, essentially, for an audience?
Yeah. Jen, any initial thoughts?
I can tell you on our sessions, the session zeros we've been running, there's been very minimal pausing and very minimal actual dice rolling. And usually it's to help make decisions in game that could be potentially random. So the role play has been really smooth, and we've just been able to go from scene to scene to scene without really too much like downtime or kind of confusion or anything like that. I haven't had any combat yet because we haven't done that yet, but
We don't want
um
to have combat though.
It's
right,
true.
exactly. So, like I feel like the it creates room for you to be able to be more imaginative and like more free with it than I think certain other systems.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely. And I was, I'm going to basically echo that same thing. I've streamed, 5e, Star Wars 5e, Savage Worlds, of course, and so Mothership, and then Mouse Ritter, which is based on Into the Odd, another OSR, real simple system there, are my latest two. And um, I think that because it's, I'll call it a little bit, it's much more of a narrative based system, because you don't have those rigid skill lists. It's, as Jen was saying, we weren't really rolling dice that often. We were just role playing, and we did this little scenario in that session zero, and you didn't have to make the charisma check to persuade somebody. It was just, you role played it well enough and it made sense, and the warden, you know reacted to that appropriately. It wasn't okay if that person would react a certain way to that intimidation or persuasion. Then that's what happens. There doesn't have to necessarily be those checks to let the dice, only if there's something super serious to happen. So I
Right.
think in that sense, it should create a good experience, because it will be just that narrative, focus on the narrative aspect. But yeah, is there anything that's lacking? I don't know if there's anything lacking. I think the other thing to say is that everyone enjoys something different. I'm not big on crunchy systems myself, so but I know there's people out there that enjoy seeing all those numbers and seeing those dice rolls. So it's just kind of another thing to point out, is depends on what you like as well.
And to piggyback off of that, it makes you often when you're doing an 5e like actual play on stream or stream live play, you are kind of forced to bend the rules or kind of forced to take liberties in order to make it all more streamlined. And then sometimes you get that after effect of like you feel like, oh man, like should I have done that? Was that like you don't have to worry about any of that anxiety really with Mothership because it's kind of set up for more role play type stuff. And I feel like similar to like ICRPG, you don't have to worry about that. Like, am I being a bad representation for this game because I'm bending the rules to make this a better show? You don't have any of that. At least I haven't experienced any of that yet. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned ICRPG in that regard because Hankerin has told me he's been on here a couple times and he told me when I first started reading the book, you can basically use that mindset, the philosophy of ICRPG in any game system, and
yeah.
it's basically use what's useful, use what's fun, and use what's going to make the game work for everyone at the table, and then the rest you can discard, and you should have enough structure there to have a fun, entertaining event for the players, and then if you have an audience, the audience as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely shows in the gameplay too. When you're playing an ICRPG, I think that the bigger, more mainstream tabletops, I think the intention is there because they always say like, oh, you can throw the rule book away and it's fine. But I think that there have been people playing those systems for so long. It's kind of like in Final Fantasy 14, every time there's a new expansion, they just hand like everything else to the people that have been there before. And like
Yep.
you go through that feeling of like, oh man, like I grinded that for like 90 hours and you're just gonna walk up and grab level 80. Like, what is that?
Yep.
And I think it's that same kind of mentality that we get. So creating these indie systems is really good to kind of let the I guess quote unquote filthy casuals have our like role playing kind of space and then still allow that stricter role play for the people that want to play those type of games.
Yeah, and it's very different. And I know we have a question here in chat from Lou again, who's just killing it with these questions here. I'm so glad that he's here. You have to think of these things differently because at a tabletop, you've got people who are there just to play the game. The only people you have to entertain are the people at the table.
Right.
Whereas with a stream, it's not just, is everyone having fun at the table? That's important because that's the only way you're going to get people to continue doing it.
Right.
But it's also a matter of, are you, what's going to make things flow and make things entertaining for the audience? And whereas with a game that you're playing at the table, you can spend 5 sessions in the same dungeon doing the same things over and over again, going room by room, grinding things out. That's a really boring thing to watch.
Yes.
So it's almost it turns RPGs into a completely different thing because it's more than just a game you're playing at the table. Now it's essentially like your script for this show that you're trying to
Right.
put on. So certain aspects fall by the wayside in that regard, and speeding things up, speeding up combat, speeding up exploration, speeding up the things that will slow down a game, not doing as many big shopping sessions. That's enough. That's what slows down my tabletops. I'll
Yep.
tell you. That's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor when it comes to stream games. That's the kind of stuff you have to streamline and do away with.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, unless you have
Um,
another big part of it too is your players. If I going forward, my intention as Valor Studios does as well as with their shows is to put on a show for an audience. So we're intentional with the people we bring on, and I'm so excited about the cast that I have to join me. I know it's going to be a blast to work with them. And I was talking with someone a while ago about just production and things like that for these live plays, actual plays. And they mentioned to me something that I think even if you're not intended to go and live stream, but if you have a home game, pretend that you do have an audience there in your living room. The concept sounds so weird. Like if you had your home game sitting around your dining table and you invited your cousin over to watch, what would that be like? And I think a lot of people might think, well, that would be potentially weird, but at the same time, maybe not. Maybe they would sit there and enjoy that. And I think the point that I'm getting at is, does that change the mindset just a little bit to everyone at the table, and bring a little bit more out of them at the table, as well as if you think that you have an audience too. So
Yeah, and I've had a couple situations where people have been at my tables where I've been running or where I've been playing, and they want to watch the session. And when I see that happen, usually I see them lose interest because, again, games at the table aren't necessarily meant to be observed.
right.
Sometimes I try to, make it entertaining for that person. But the thing that I tell people who want to like watch a table game is, we'll get you a character here and just, join in.
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on like what your goal is too,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because I think that there are so many live play RPG sessions now that it almost is like comforting to see a table play a little bit more, because
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like it's just like, oh, okay, it's still there. Okay, good.
Mhm.
All right. And so many people, I think so many people feel intimidated too, because they feel like they have to be these grand role players. They have to like be able to do all these things, and like it really depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in the mood to watch somebody grind on an MMO or an RPG or a TTRPG, then yeah, I'm gonna flip to another channel for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. So one thing that's really going to be interesting for me to see as you guys launch the show, the tone that you guys are going to end up striking, because RPGs in general, and we saw this with Hellgate. I've seen this in Nighthaven, the game that I run on the side. In general, the act of playing RPGs, people are generally very loose, very fun loving. There's lots of jokes being cracked, but at the same time, you've got a horror system.
Right.
So tonally, and I know this is kind of hard to pin down since you guys are at the beginning of it. Tonally, are you guys shooting for that like kind of darker horror style thing with like minimal side conversation, or are you guys just going to let things happen as they happen, and hopefully some of that fear and dread comes through, even past the casual environment of an RPG?
Right. I think our warden is going to ratchet up as much as possible to put us into that suspense.
Gotcha.
I think the Ypsilon one shot we did is a great example of that. He did an amazing job. But there was, even with our kind of test session last night, there was a lot of moments of in character, lightheartedness, humor here and there a little bit. But I think it will be, my push, kind of producing the show is in, this, Ryan, from Deadlands, is stay in character.
Yep.
Characters can crack jokes, characters can laugh and have fun, and that's what we're after. But as again, that was a test session of us getting onto the job. I know that shit's gonna get dark, and you'll see it in our faces. I guarantee it. And I'm super looking forward to that. So, tone wise, I think that'll definitely show up. That suspense and dread and all of that. I have full faith in Rich being able to convey that for all of us, and then all of us, eating that up as well, and acting into it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I would say the vibe so far, from my perspective, like Cowboy Bebop, the anime,
Mhm.
mixed with like aliens, mixed with like The Grudge. That's what I've got so far.
Gotcha.
The
Rich
Walking
says
Dead.
the widening gyre meets the color in spaces.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha. It sounds like a little bit of Event Horizon as well. Uh, just from the description of Cowboy Bebop meets The Ring.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Except like aliens.
Mm.
Right. Right. Because I think that the character archetypes are so extreme, since we're playing all four different types,
Mhm.
that the comedy is just gonna show up naturally in us trying to deal with each other. I know that
Yeah.
me and Lace have had instances over the past like 24 hours that have been like just hilarious, just in the nature of how our characters interact with each other. So I don't it's not gonna be it's definitely gonna be like horror and gore and lots of like scary stuff, but I feel like the way we react to it is gonna be somewhat a little bit comical at times.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a way to manage stress for some people is to try and laugh it off. So
Mhm.
see how that comes out.
Plus, we have a really creepy robot with us the entire time, so there's also
Yep.
that.
I can only imagine the suspenseful moments you guys are gonna have when there's some creepy stuff happening. You haven't seen anything yet, but you know it's out there, and then Kay says something in the robot voice. I imagine that's gonna create quite a tense environment there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm, mm.
Gotcha. So this is starting this Sunday, right?
Yep.
This is premiering this Sunday.
Coming this Sunday, February 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
I can't wait.
And we'll be
Gotcha.
going for 9 weeks straight, including this weekend. And I'll wrap it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And this will be on your Twitch channel, right, Todd?
Yes. Yep. Twitch.tv/Toddmoonbounce. Find it there.
Gotcha. Awesome. Cool. Well, we know that you guys, have other things that you need to get to this evening. I appreciate you guys taking the time to, come on the show here and talk about this. This has been a great conversation. But I want to give you guys a few minutes here at the end to, tell everyone where they can find you, what projects you've got cooking besides the obvious one that we're talking here. So, whoever wants to go first can go first, but just tell everyone, social media wise, where you can be found and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, Jen.
Okay. Sure. Hi, I'm Jen. I'm currently working on this lovely show right here. And also you can find me. Um, I run a podcast called Cheat Codes over at Women in Games International, and I'm also a talent manager at Tires TV. You can find me on the internet on Twitter. I do all sorts of stuff there. And on Twitch, I'm Youngles, as you can see in chat. So yeah, come on over, say hi. Let's connect. Let's collab. Let's play some games together. I've got stuff. I got magic cards, so we can play that too. Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
Alrighty. Yes, I am Todd Moonbounce. You can find me online at Todd Moonbounce most everywhere: Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. So yes, I've got Dead Planet coming up next Sunday, as we mentioned, and I do also have a Star Wars 5e mini campaign, 3 sessions through February, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Starting the 9th, I believe it is, for 3 weeks. Doing that as well, and then whatever else I can squeeze into the calendar in between that. February is pretty busy for that, and just always looking to put together a great story with other people. So if you want to join a game and something, hit me up on Twitter and whatnot, and would love to put that together.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned February being busy because I noticed that even though February is the shortest month, it always feels like it takes forever. And there's always a million things to do in
Yeah,
February. I don't know what
absolutely.
it is, but man, February.
You spend January kind of like catching up and getting into the year, and then it's like, okay, now it's here. We gotta hit the gas. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
guys, thank you so much for coming on Rollin' Bones. This has been a great, first time with Valor Studios. So, I hope you guys enjoyed your time on here. I'm looking forward to Dead Planet, and I hope everyone else out there who's watching this, everyone who sees this on YouTube afterwards, and everyone who's listening uh, on Spotify or wherever it is you listen to Rollin' Bones. Hope you guys will tune in to Dead Planet this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time over at twitch.tv/Toddmoonbounce.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for having us on, Ryan. This was fantastic.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And just to let you guys know what's coming up in the next couple weeks, next week, the very first guest that I ever had on Rollin' Bones, Tim Mathias, is going to be returning. He is punching his card and joining the Three Timers Club. So he'll be on here with Sarah Bolstridge, one of his players in season 2 of Knights and Nerds. We're going to be talking all about season 2, all kinds of crazy stuff that happened there. Tim and I have had some conversations on his podcast about what's going on with season 2. So we're going to talk about that on my show for the first time. And I hope you guys will tune in here, same bat time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/Valor Studios for Rollin' Bones. So until then, guys, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I am so glad that you rolled your bones and continue to roll your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I will catch you guys next time.